said on the other one. It has very nice shiroji, the high quality beni. You see the fluker in between the scales. What it came down to for us on a decision between this fish and the smaller fish was this fish, I don't know if it's because you haven't been able to feed as much in this hot summer, or if it just hasn't grown into it yet. The head, it has a massive head that could hold a really large body, and right now the body is not quite matching that massive head. So if it gets to the point where you can feed this fish more and put a bit more body onto it, this fish is going to be very, very hard to beat. Well, yeah, we had to play with that during judging. Obviously, these tanks over here have the best light, and with the incandescence, it can sometimes make the shiro look a little yellowish. So we did take that into consideration when we were looking at fish that were in less light. I don't know if we brought this fish, like I kid it around, but let's bowl up the size 8s and take them outside. I have been at shows where the judges asked us to take the top fish out into the sunlight. That's a very nervous time. No one wants to do that.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for the heat, these would have been out closer to the daylight, but we pulled them away in because of the heat this weekend.
There are times you just can't get the equal conditions. Like, give it your best decision.
We tried to discount that some because, like, try to count that down as that had the slight advantage for the light, and so if everything else being equal, which one had the better conformation, which one had the better body. This fish is obviously a lot bigger, and so points are given for that, and the evenness of the beni and those kind of things. So it gets down to a really splitting hairs. Great fish. Differences in sashi relative to the other ones a little bit more even. That's not a downside on this fish. It just means it has, again, more time to develop. And this is a long time keeper, obviously.
See how old this fish is?
Ryan here? I'd like to know how old it is.
Yeah.
It also has, you said, a different type of sashi, but it also has a very different type of kilo, the tail end. It has what we call a marizome kilo, where the beni follows the pattern of the scale. So it looks a little scalloped. Whereas on the Supreme Champion, it was more of a parazome, which ignores the scale and cuts through the scales and has a slightly different pattern to it.
How old is the fish?
That's what I was thinking. The owner was here to tell us.
And how large is it?
Well, they don't tell us how big it is. We just knew it was in the biggest size, but I would say it's in the 32 range.
Yeah, 32, 33, 30, somewhere 32.
Oh, 32. Okay.
That's a jumbo fish.
Transporting it, just the honor of bringing a fish like this size to the show, that's also challenging without damaging it. The bigger they get, the more challenging it gets. He's obviously a very active fish. I tried to sit him yesterday and couldn't hardly get to sit still, so I know it's an active fish compared to some who are just kind of,
Swimming in the bag.
just swim right in there.
Not a zen.
Comfortable wherever. Even now, searching for,
Yeah, it's looking for food.
For its size, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
It still has a very, even though it's that large, it still has a very youthful look to the skin. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's only about 5 or 6. I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 5 or 6 years old. It's fine.
Still got a chance to grow into itself.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's just
grow
put
into
all
that.
its effort in there.
It can be, sometimes you see the opposite. You see a fish that was able to build up this really huge body, but it didn't have the bone structure on the head. So you see this body that comes down and all of a sudden this small head. That's going to be, it's probably better to have this. This is something you can feed the fish and get the body on it to match the skull, but if you don't have the skull, you just can't carry off that large body.
How big do you think this fish could get?
There's only 5 and it's 32. This is the type of fish I'd be looking to get to 90 cm. It's got that, I don't know if it's really more of a Matsunosuke type. It doesn't have the Matsunosuke into it or anything, but a lot of times the Matsunosuke bloodline will stay thin until it finishes growing long, and then it starts to fill out. It's got the big head though, so
How long does it take?
Before they start growing it.
before a man gets a big head, we start with.
That was AKC Judge.
Oh. Keep your man in control.
This was a good strategy to put these two together, because it also accentuates the difference in size. You wouldn't want to put another big fish in here, not just for the load on the tank, but also for, it's a strategy, it's a show strategy.
That's the only time I can actually show a toe size. If I got a nice big fish, I want to show off the toe size in there with it. Just
Right, it just makes it look that much bigger to each of us. We try to break it down past that, but it's hard to ignore the tendencies.
I even done where I've got my big 40-inch jackal, I'll get it placed next to like the best competition I get. It makes it look small. That's when you really get into show competition.
Yeah, strategies, things like that. That's for sure.
Where to next? Great JPB. It's